what's in my head. I got a voice inside that needs to be fed. It's causing chaos everywhere I land. I got a fever. I got a fever.
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Ohio Sports Talk and the home of the Ohio State Buckeyes, your 2024-2025 national champions.
OHIO, baby.
Ah, man, that was great. Jordan, how the hell you doing, buddy? Good to see you today.
Doing fantastic. I'm a little tired, but the hell with that. Staying up late, watching the celebrations, watching the speeches, all worth it. Long wait. And Douglas, we started this program last spring. We dove so hard into this through all out the journey. We've had great guests on. We've had Jim Trussell. We've had other guests come on. We talked about it. We pounded it all year. What a journey. What a completion. How are you doing on your end?
Okay, let me take you through a little bit here. My daughter comes home on Friday sick, getting sick, doing all that. I guess there's some kind of norovirus going around. I don't know. Kids get these weird things. So I've been sick since Sunday night, doing all that extra stuff, not feeling great. But last night, getting able to watch the Buckeyes, getting able to watch them win a national championship lifted me up pretty well. I'm still dealing with my voice is a little hoarse. I'm fighting through, but damn it, Jordan, am I excited for our Ohio State Buckeyes. You said it, Jordan. We talked about it. It was championship or bust with this team. And here we are, Jordan, the 2025 national champions. It feels damn good, buddy. I mean, so let's start at the top. We'll date back because that's what everybody's doing. We lose to Michigan 13-10. A lot of looking in the mirror, a lot of question marks, a lot of shit. Is this team actually good enough? And not only did this team come out and refocus and prepare and do everything it took to win 4 straight and become national champions, they did it in amazing fashion, Jordan. I mean, beating a really talented Tennessee team, beating the number 1 rated team in the country for a majority of the year in the Oregon Ducks, probably the favorite to win the national championship, then beating Texas, a team that probably on paper matches up best with Ohio State in terms of physicality, athletes and things like that, and then beating Notre Dame, who has one of the best defenses in the nation, who has a quarterback who is a very good runner, good running backs. We saw him make some plays down the stretch. To beat those 4 teams in the way that the Buckeyes did it, pretty dominant fashion overall. Yeah, I got a little close in the Notre Dame game. Ohio State kind of shot themselves in the foot. Jordan, this run is unprecedented because it's the first year of the 12-team playoff. But, man, I don't know if anybody will ever have to deal with what the Buckeyes dealt with to win the championship this year. Give me your thoughts. Kind of take us through it. What a run, buddy. I just, there's feels like a weight off the chest, off the shoulders. Ryan Day gets his first title. It's been 10 years, dude. 10 years since we beat Oregon for the national championship. It's been a long time. And then 20 years before that, 21 years before that. Tell me how you're feeling, buddy. Tell me your thoughts on that 4-game stretch. What a run it was, man. What a run it was.
And Doug, I'll even date you back a little bit further. You even go back to when, the missed field goal against Georgia in a previous run that Ryan Day had, and just the amount of adversity, and to really, rally those guys and rally, the team even after that, to convince everybody, bring everybody back for their senior year, bring Burke back, bring JTT, bring Sawyer back. I mean, that's a lot of convincing. And those weren't just the only ones. There are other role players that decided to opt in and buy in and, really extend it for one purpose and one purpose only. And that was, title or bust. And the players spoke on it like many of the media and ourselves spoke on it. So just looking at it, looking at the struggles kind of early on, we saw some flashes. We saw some things. We kind of struggled a little bit within a year. Going to that Oregon game, everybody highlights that Michigan game, but I that Oregon game was such a heartbreak. Round one, Oregon was a heartbreak. Too many men on the field. They outsmarted us. They got away with it. That's coaching. I'm not going to take anything away from that. They coached themselves into a win, but Ohio State was standing firm. That 1 point loss, 3 point loss to Michigan. We were always right there. We were always like right there, and that was Ryan Day's calling card for the last 3 seasons. Is guys, we're right there. We're hang with me, and
Right.
We did. We gave him hell. We didn't give him as much hell as some of the mainstream media and all those Disney Corps at ESPN and all that stuff like that. But we said championship or bust, and we stood by that. And we even got cornered, Douglas, during the 3-game winning streak after the Texas game. We went on and we were asked by our other colleagues that joined us on the program, do you stand firm by that? And we did. We dug in even further, and we said championship or bust. And what a run, like you said. Just looking at the Texas game, the miracle play that and that wouldn't have decided the game if they scored or not, but the miracle play that sealed it. And you think about the Caleb Downs interception that was even the icing on the cake, and you look at just the absolute trouncing of Oregon. And everybody wrote us out of the Tennessee game. Tennessee, they're high velocity. They're
filling the shoe. They're taking the shoe. Jordan.
Yeah,
they're taking the shoe.
The hijack.
We ran their ass back to Kentucky or back to Tennessee. The fucking no, sorry for the F-bomb early, but the Volunteers talking a whole bunch of shit just to get wiped off the map, Jordan. Wiped off the map. I mean,
and even last night's matchup, a matchup which I was a little worried. I said that in our last program, but it was going to come down to the trench warfare, and Ohio State showed up early. Now Notre Dame made their statement. Douglas, I was texting you. We were texting live. I was worried. The quarterback, just absolute quarterback power. Run to the outside stretch. That first drive had me absolutely a little bit on edge. We were in shock that Ohio State came out, and Douglas Chip Kelly did it all. That even on our first drive had completions to the tight end, completions to Ibaka, completions to Smith, completions to Tate. Both running backs were featured in the pass game and run game. So you don't really see that from teams. Everybody down the line got involved, including Will Howard's feet. And I called that. I said on our last program that Will Howard's feet was going to be featured in this game because it was kind of a kept secret. If you didn't watch him in the Big 12 and you just watched him at Ohio State all year, you assume that, okay, he's got some mobility, but you had to watch the highlights. Why we transferred him here was as a dual threat. Now, I'm not saying he was a Terrell Pryor or somebody that was going to put up 1,000 yards on the ground, but having that dual threat capability where Kyle McCord didn't get us, that pocket presence and that ability to kind of sneak out and extend plays. And long behold, we held nothing back. And, that's a cliche, often used in sports, but it was the last game. Jenna, thank you for the shout out. But it was that there is no tomorrow.
Yeah.
And Douglas, they took it to them. But Notre Dame fought their ass off. So,
100%.
I wait, 12:30 at night. I made sure, Marcus Freeman, an Ohio guy from the Dayton area.
Yeah. Wayne Warrior.
Former Buckeye himself. We'll see them again. I promise you that it's not going to be Ryan Day's last duel with Marcus Freeman. They are destined to do battle for probably 2 to 3 years minimum. So, I'm excited for that. But take me through it, Doug. What was going through your mind, especially in that third quarter when things looked like they were starting to shift a little?
So, Jordan, I think sometimes, we at home probably don't play the score the way that the team does. Because to us, so look at this. At the one point, it was 31-7, Jordan?
Yes.
31-7. And I think there's some human nature that takes over there. Because if you think about it, Notre Dame scored 8 points there at the end of the third quarter to make it 31-15. Ohio State comes down and they get the field goal. Notre Dame only scored one more time. The game was still in control for the most part. And I thought that maybe our guys took their foot off the gas a little bit. The secondary got a little laxed. We kept running the Will Howard QB power, and it was just small little, it wasn't really, in my opinion, I thought we took the foot off a little too early. North Carolina or Notre Dame, like you said, is a talented group. They don't have the best weapons on the outside, but Riley Leonard's a gamer. That Great House wide receiver kid, a gamer. Their corner or their tight end, Mitchell Evans, good big time player, a guy who's going to play on Sundays. Even though their running backs weren't great, those guys are good players in their own right. I felt like we just took it off a little bit early and kind of let Notre Dame get the momentum. And then they missed that field goal, Jordan. I thought after the missed field goal, it was kind of over because that was all their momentum wrapped up right there. And he shanks it off the goalpost, which, man, I couldn't imagine doing that in a national championship game. I feel for that kid, but it helped us out a lot, Jordan. That was probably the end of the game right there for me. They make that field goal or they go for it on fourth down. Maybe it's a different game, but Ohio State controlled this game start to finish, second drive to finish, Jordan. Because I got to say, that first drive, me and you were texting back and forth, and there's a little bit of a holy shit moment. But in reality, Jordan, what they did there was 18 plays of incredible football, but you just put probably 2 miles of extra hits on your quarterback. You know what I mean? You're putting back in so much risk there. And he's taking not unnecessary shots because he got a touchdown, but he's taking so much extra punishment that I think you're setting yourself up for failure. And the rest of the half, their offense was anemic. They didn't have anything going. And I think it's all because that first drive was to me, it felt like their first drive was the national championship for them. I mean, how did you feel about that? 18 plays, Jordan, 75 yards, 9 minutes and 50 seconds of in-game time. That's probably 30 minutes of real time. It lasted a long time. Do you think maybe they shot their shot too early in the game in that regard? What are your thoughts on that first drive? Because that first drive, I was a little bit worried, but you got to realize that's not sustainable. So go ahead.
I think Notre Dame, I wouldn't say they shot their shot. I think they didn't adjust because the attack throughout the first half was the same. And you take a defense like Ohio State, you take Jim Knowles, and we made some adjustments. We brought the linebackers up in A gap. We took the safeties and started playing them inside the box. We were playing a little bit of games with them. They were curving outside the box, anticipating the zone run, and JTT and just the defensive tackles in general just kind of like they hunkered down. After seeing 18 plays of kind of the same thing, you either learn or you get eliminated. And I feel like Ohio State, they're talented enough. We got some first round and second round guys there on a defensive line, and especially on that second level on the linebackers. Everybody just kind of started adjusting. We started anticipating it. That first drive, I think everybody was so shell shocked, on Ohio State's offense because they never seen anything like that. They've never seen a team just dig in the trenches and go right between the tackles, like you said, the quarterback absorbing it, even getting to the sideline, after the touchdown, and the camera's panning to him, and he's puking and he's gassed, and people they had heating pads on his shoulder already, he was getting some oxygen, things of that nature. Like you said, for first drive, first quarter, you don't want to see that. Now quarter, fourth quarter, you're huffing and puffing, and even their offensive line had their hands on their waist. And this from playing and coaching as well and seeing it. That's not a sign you want to see. And when Ohio State, I feel like that was blood in the water. You saw them puking. You saw the offensive line, coming off the field gassed. And Jim Knowles made the adjustment. And it was just from there. And we got re-energized. Like I said, we went on our own little marathon, 12-play run. But, our plays weren't exclusive. Like I said, everybody, they saw everything. They saw passes. They saw dunks. They saw, running backs going. They saw quarterback power of our own. And we mixed that up, and that re-energized. Those guys came on the sideline, and Sawyer came over and said, got in Howard's face and said, "We got you." And right. I felt like after that, that's a game that's a game-changing moment. All right, it's back to 0-0. We're, erase that first erased that first marathon drive that they had, and they hunkered down. We made the adjustments, and Notre Dame just they didn't adjust. They didn't put any wrinkles. I thought we were gonna probably fake some quarterback keepers, roll out, hit us deep, challenge our corners, and you just didn't really see that in the second quarter at all. Because that first quarter was exclusively, it was 2 drives, and after that, it was chopped up to possessions here, possessions there, all the way going into halftime. So when Notre Dame didn't make the adjustments or throw any wrinkles, Ohio State was able to get out of that shell and kind of run a couple zero blitzes, but really just play chess with those linebackers.
Yep, and we complimented the defense a lot in this run because I think this is some of the best defense we've ever seen here at Ohio State. I'm sure, if you could date back, there's been some great Ohio State defenses, but in a 4-game set, I feel like this is the highest level of defense we've really been able to see. The defensive line, the way they came together, the way they've turned into a terrifying unit up front. Sawyer, JTT, Williams, all those guys just dominating games, but the ability for them to keep Leonard inside the pocket and him have to make throws and him have to be rushed, that cannot go not talked about because that really helped set up the secondary. The secondary, in my opinion, didn't play very well. Downs played well, and I would say Ransom had a solid game, but our corners struggled with probably the most average group of receivers that we played in the playoff. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of ready for Burke and Igbinosa to move on and get some of these younger guys in here and get, working. Igbinosa, that guy is a penalty waiting to happen. He is one of the worst individual cover corners I can remember. It's either a pass interference call or it's a catch for a big gain. Like I'm not sure what happened there, but overall, Jordan,
16 PI calls for the season.
Insane. Yes. Jordan, I'm going to put a picture in here. Let me get it pulled up here. This picture right here, Jordan. Ohio State, Ryan Day, all the players reaching around, touching that national championship trophy. It's really special because we've been on the front lines. Maybe Ryan Day was done. Maybe Ryan Day needed to go, Jordan. Maybe it's not working out here at Ohio State. I think a lot of people owe Ryan Day an apology, and maybe we do too. Let me give you this. He's 70-10 for his career as a head coach. He is 6-4 in bowl games. He is 5-3 in the college football playoff. He is a college national champion now. He is a 2-time Big Ten champion, a 1-time Big Ten Coach of the Year. Jordan, he's also, younger than Saban was when he won his first. There's a bunch more of, those type of, tidbits. Now that we have the national championship, we can always harken back. We're always going to hear it from Michigan fans. 1-4, yada, yada. Has Ryan Day earned his spot for good? Or do you think if this team loses to Michigan next year, are we gonna redo this whole thing?
That's
it's tough.
That's the question of the decade, especially being in 2025. So from 2020 to, I would say all the way to 2030 is when you start looking at his tenure again. I think he gets over the hump. I really do, and I don't say that from biased goggles. He had to have a learning moment. 2 years in a row, he tried to out physical a team that was built in the trenches in Michigan defensively, and they got a defensive tackle going in the first round. So we're two maybe, and we're going to give credit where credit is due. You don't attack somebody's strengths and hope that's going to go in your favor. We weren't necessarily chopping down a tree either and trying to wear him down. You play to your strengths. And I think you can look at this playoff run, Douglas, and say Ryan Day and Chip Kelly, they got out of each other's way. I feel like, because you look at Will Howard's stats, 200 plus yards every game, multiple touchdowns thrown every game. everybody getting involved, especially in the wide receiver and tight end group for this run, which we really didn't feature throughout the year, in my opinion, from what I saw. We getting the tight ends involved in this run and getting the screen game going. Henderson and Judkins had some great catches. I feel like they got out of their way. I feel like this 4-game stretch was the learning curve that was needed to show us, hey, we learned our lesson. We had a bad call. We've had a bad few years against Michigan. We're going to figure it out. And I feel like he will. Now, if he loses, Doug, I don't think the fan base will be as extreme. I don't think the media will be as harsh. But Doug, I think this is the light and the fuel and the ignition that is going to fuel like a little mini dynasty for the Ohio State when it comes to at least Big Ten play. Beating Oregon the second time the way they did in the second matchup, I should say, that sets the tone. That to me was a message to the rest of the Big Ten Conference that Ryan Day has arrived officially. Ryan Day is here. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly have learned if they keep that coaching dynamic together for the offense next season, I don't see Michigan being an immediate problem. Michigan's going to come back better. We know their quarterback position has been significantly upgraded, but you got to see it on the field. You got to see it on the field. We saw it. We see it in paper. We'll see mad stats in the spring game that nothing competes on game speed. You got to see it against USC next year. They got to go through a little mini gauntlet of their own when it comes to conference play. But I think Ryan Day got out of his way, and this was the weight that lifted off his shoulder. We no longer missed a close game. We won dominantly in all the games. And we could say Texas was close because they were our biggest matchup, especially with Quinn Ewers having experience, knowing what Ohio State's defense is going to look like because he practiced against them even, you could say, 1 year, but that knowledge doesn't go away. You don't get a playbook this big and sit in all the meetings and see everything that Ohio State has, and transfer out and just dump it. So to me, Douglas, I think this is going to be a 2 to 3 year run dynasty for us in the Big Ten, and we're going to have 2 to 3 years of playoff appearances.
Okay, Jordan, we're going to wrap it up here shortly. Will Howard goes on a absolutely incredible run here, Jordan. Let me list it off for you. Beat Tennessee 42-17, threw for 311, 2 touchdowns, an incredible QBR, incredible rating. Then we go to Oregon, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns passing. Texas, a little bit, 289, a touchdown, still very accurate with the ball. Then the national championship game, 17 of 21, 230 yards, 81% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, an incredible run.
54 yards on the ground. Yeah.
He ends the season 4,000 yards passing, 35 touchdowns throwing, 10 interceptions. Will Howard, in my opinion, has worked his way into being an NFL caliber quarterback somewhere. I don't know if I don't think it's going to be in the first 2 rounds. In the 3rd round, it might even be a stretch. But if this guy has a good combine, if this guy puts it together in those measurable situations and throws, which I think he'll be very good in the throwing aspect if he can continue this level of play. We bring in this guy from Kansas State, and Kansas State doesn't want him, quote unquote, anymore. And he comes here, and we see the blunder, the blunder against Oregon. We see the poor play against Michigan, and then he comes out with his hair on fire in this final 4 games. Will Howard is going to go down as an Ohio State legend, man. It's crazy. We've had quarterbacks like Stroud, Fields, and these other guys that weren't able to get to it, and then we get Will Howard, who comes in and he's just perfect for what Ohio State wanted to do. I thought the run he went on was special, Jordan, and I'm really, really happy for Will Howard. The leadership and the responsibility of being the quarterback at Ohio State, I thought he handled it so well. I thought he was incredible ambassador for the university.
Oh,
And, seeing some of those moments on the sidelines with him and Jack Sawyer, yelling in each other's face, hyping it, talking to the offensive line, talking to these, it just felt like Will Howard was the perfect guy for the job after, some question marks throughout the season, Jordan. He developed into a guy that you really trusted with the ball. And on the biggest play in the Notre Dame game,
yes,
Notre Dame, they're going all out blitz, man
zero,
up, and he dumps it right into Jeremiah Smith's lap for the biggest play of the game to seal the game. And Will Howard is national. He's the MVP of the national championship game, and it's well deserved.
I even want to go back to that. And I know we're pressed for time. I want to go back to that throw to Judkins, where he threw the touchdown.
Where he's throwing it across.
Bro, gorgeous. That was a needle. I know those are once in a lifetime throws. You can't replicate them all the time. You can't base somebody's career off it. But that to me was outside of the last throw of the game, that was a defining moment, for him as an Ohio State Buckeye. Just right in between what is Xavier, which is expected to be a first rounder corner, lined up on our running back and
Watts,
threaded it in between. Watts, I apologize.
Xavier Watts. You're right.
Xavier. Okay. Yeah, and he was right there, and that's something you don't see very often.
No, and then that's he scrambles out. The entire 4 defenders have to react to him, and that's when Judkins, who's in his own right, got himself open to give Howard a chance. He kind of had that slow developing route, and he turns up into it, and just on the run, showing the full package, the athleticism and the throw, and to put it on target, a phenomenal throw. Will Howard, like I said, MVP of the national championship game. Jordan, if we go back, I would say Jeremiah Smith was the MVP of the first 2 games. I would say Travion Henderson / Jack Sawyer was the MVP of the Texas game. And then Will Howard brings it home for the boys here in the national championship, Jordan. We're going to have a whole offseason to talk about the Buckeyes getting ready for next season, the 25-26 campaign. Ohio State finishes the AP poll number 1. They are way too early list. They are number 2 behind Texas going into next season. Depending on how things shake out in the offseason, Jordan, this team, they bring in talent like nobody else. Everybody's bitching and complaining about the NIL dollars. Well, hey, until the NIL puts a salary cap or whatever you want to do on it, this is what teams are going to do to compete. And a lot of that money went to self-retention, retaining our own players. Yeah, we went out and paid big dollars for Downs, big dollars for Howard, big dollars for these guys here and there. But a lot of that was homegrown guys that have been in the program. I think people try to shine a nasty light on that NIL situation. The best players are going to want to come play for guys like Ryan Day in the Ohio State Buckeyes, and I'm expecting them to add some more talent again in this offseason. And Jordan, we're going to try to make a run at back-to-back champions. I'll tell you what, this 12-team playoff formula, this is going to be a dogfight every year. Yeah. I mean, think about it, man. Tennessee, Oregon, Texas, Notre Dame, 4 of the best teams in college football. I think you posted it. Ohio State beat 6 teams or 5 teams that were in the college football playoff.
6. Yeah.
I mean, that's unreal. Anybody who wins the 12-team format, in my opinion, that is just incredible stuff. And for Ohio State to be the first, like they were with the 4-team playoff, history being made here, Jordan. Any last thoughts before we get out of here, buddy?
No, just, hats off to both teams first and foremost. This is going to be a battle for years to come. But finally, congratulations, Ryan Day. Congratulations, Will Howard. Every senior that came back to complete the mission accomplished, as we say in the Marine Corps. So congratulations for all the hard work, battling through all the negative media after the Michigan loss, waiting your turn, getting the 8th seed, which, that doesn't feel great either, but just getting into the dance is the only important part. So congratulations on the journey, the travels, and everything you guys went through, your faith in your teammates, your faith in God, seeing you guys talk like an entire family, almost militaristic-like is how I felt from my own experiences. These guys were, brothers to the end, like you said, commanding respect, getting in each other's faces, hyping each other up. lifting each other, from good plays and bad plays. What a hell of a run. I hope we get to live to see another one. Just absolutely. And Douglas, what a great season it was to cover everything from start to finish, from camp to previewing, every game that on the schedule, putting the program together week in and week out. Douglas, mission accomplished as well. You did it, brother. We did it. Getting the guest on, what a hell of a run. What a hell of a start for our program. I couldn't be prouder for the Ohio State Buckeyes. I couldn't be prouder for Ohio Sports Talk.
No, well said, buddy. It's been a fun ride, and we'll be back again later this week for another episode. And hell of a run, Ohio State, your 24-25 national champions. It feels so damn good to be a Buckeye. Last thing we'll send you off with, OH.
IO.
See you next time. This has been Ohio Sports Talk. Thank you.